board. I'm gonna pull up the chat. All life is good. Joel is on, which is fantastic. Let me just see if I can. There we go. There he is. There he is. Let me just unmute him really quick, if I can. Or you can unmute yourself. You should be able to.
I can push the button.
Perfect.
Hi.
Hi, guys. Welcome to our team call for Thursday. I'm super excited because Joel is on tonight, which I know a lot of you guys are excited about. Trent, whose picture's right underneath you, I know is like man-crushing, not to embarrass you or anything, but...
Oh, hi, Trent. I'll man crush you back, bro. It's all good.
You've got some good fans on, so that's good. Just so you guys know, I'm going to get right into it so we don't waste a ton of his time. But did you have something to say?
No.
Oh, you look like you're like about to say something. I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background on Joel, and then I'm going to let him kind of tell his story, how he got into Beachbody, and I'm going to have him mastermind you guys, and then we'll do some questions and answer at the very end if we have time. So I actually was reading some of his bio today, and I was like, wow, he's done a lot of stuff that I didn't even really know about, which is kind of cool. I personally met Joel. I don't know if I think we talked about this. The very first summit that he ever went to, it might have even been the first summit that I went to. And I remember asking him if we could take a picture of him. It was right when Les Mills Combat came out, and he was like, you want to take a picture with me? And we were like, yeah. And we thought it was the coolest thing ever, which he probably doesn't remember. But that's true.
I remember that. I totally remember that. How dare you?
He takes pictures with people every day. He's famous. But I remember taking that specific photo for some reason. Anyway, it was embarrassing, and I'm embarrassed now that I even said that. But just so you guys know, he was born in California but raised in Texas. So I want to hear your southern drawl a little bit on this call. But he got into fitness at age 19, and he worked the graveyard shift at a gym, which is, he can maybe elaborate on how he got like so into fitness. But he did a little bit of fitness modeling, which I encourage you all to Google.
No, don't do that.
Which I may ask a question about the dirty chest, because I don't know what that is or what that means, but it's all over the internet. So I don't know. You can decide if you want to bring that up or not.
Well, it has nothing to do with being shirtless or naked, luckily.
Okay.
That's a good thing. So no,
it's not your porn star name. It's not.
No, not that I know of.
All right. He taught Group X classes, and he kind of got into the gym scene. He learned all the ins and outs of the gym business by working that graveyard shift in that first job that he had. And he got selected for Les Mills, which I don't know what that means, but I was reading that and I'm like, he got selected for Les Mills. I don't know what that means or what that process was, but that's kind of how I believe you got into Beachbody. But he was also the director, the Group X director for the Gold's Gym franchise in LA, which is awesome. And then he went on to the marketing director role, and then Carl Deichler called him, and this is where we're at presently. So I'm going to turn the time over to you.
Carl calls you. What are you going to do?
I know, right? So I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to let him just kind of share his story and his value, and then we'll do some questions. So you can post them in the chat, and I'll read them out loud as he goes so that we can stay productive. So I will let you take the mic.
Oh. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on, and it's good to talk with everybody. And yeah, it's been a fun and wild ride in the fitness world so far, and with no stopping. But yeah, this is so. I'll give you a quick little synopsis of how this call and all these calls kind of came about. Was about a month ago, back in doing a meeting with Carl, and we have our catch ups, and we're chatting about some stuff, and and even he didn't know the extent of my background in the fitness business world. And the more we talked about it, the more he was like, wow, you should really think about all that stuff you used to do and how it could potentially help the coach network. And I was like, he's the CEO for a reason. So I did, and I started. I went back and looked at all the stuff I used to do and all the trains I used to do for employees at gyms, and came up with this little thing that I'm going to tell you guys today that hopefully you get some nugget out of. I mean, I'm not going to blow your mind. I'm not going to change the world with this. It's not rocket science. It's just really how you put all this stuff together. So I'll definitely take you through it. And the fitness industry has been my world for over a decade now. And I went from, but I wasn't always into health and fitness, and that's, I usually get that question a lot. Like, well, you've always been fit and healthy. I'm like, no. Before my front desk job, I used to nighttime I was bartending and managing nightclubs, and daytime I was either framing houses. I was at the pool hall, winning pool tournaments, and occasionally going to class if I got bored. That was pretty much the only time I ever went to class. And I was doing all that with a cigarette in my mouth and drinking and having a good time. So that was me in college. I was not a health and fitness guy at all. I was a party animal, and I had a great time. And actually, at the time, I was saying, you know what, I'm just going to open a bunch of nightclubs and have fun in Miami Beach. I was like, that's the life, right? And now I am at 33. I've never even been to Miami Beach yet. So put that on the bucket list. But I needed a different job. Finally, as I was having way too much fun partying, I was like, you know what? This isn't working. Where am I going with this? And framing houses is all this stuff wasn't liking it. So I took through a friend. He said, hey, he was selling memberships at this gym, and he goes, well, I got a shift. It's 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. shift. Do you want it? And I was used to being up all the time anyway, so I said sure. And that was the start. I got into it. Still didn't really get into the health aspect of it yet. I mean, I basically sneak out back at the gym and smoke a cigarette because there'd be nobody around. And but I got into the sales aspect of it. I got into the business. I learned the business of it, and ended up being basically I've done every position in a gym. So whatever position there is you could think of, I've done it over the years. And then moved up to Washington and managed some gyms up there. And then finally around, early 20s, I was able to say, okay, maybe I shouldn't smoke cigarettes if I'm working in a gym. Might be a bad idea. Shouldn't come in smelling like smoke, and should maybe try to clean up my life a little bit. So that's when I started to go more towards the healthy side of it. And, that it also got into group exercise, and my first group exercise class was body pump, and that's got me into the world of Les Mills and so on and so forth. So yeah, I was chosen, Jace, to be a cast member of Les Mills Pump by auditioning, and I didn't even know I was auditioning. I was actually over in New Zealand doing some photo shoots for Les Mills, for their cover art stuff, and was teaching at their gym there. And they were recording myself and a couple of us, and they record instructors all the time for feedback purposes. So that's all I thought it was. Come to find out, it was actually an audition tape. I didn't even know it. And then they called me a year later and said, hey, you want to be in this? I said, yeah, sure. I'll go back to New Zealand. So we did that, and there you go. The rest is history. We all know what is kind of come and gone with Les Mills and Beachbody. And no, for all of you that are wondering, I was not in Les Mills Combat. That's Dan, just so you know, because a lot of people are like, hey, you're that Dan guy, right? No, I'm a foot taller, and I don't have the accent, just FYI. So I'm Joel, not Dan. There we go. All right, clarification, done. So what this whole thing is about, and why I reach out to Jason and the rest of all the coaching team is this is where I actually really have a lot of fun doing this stuff, because one of the things I did at Gold's Gym when I became the Group X director is they were already doing it, and we really honed it in. We really honed in the education platform where we trained, where all new employees that came into Gold's Gym had to go through this week-long training process. And the first 3 days they were with me, and I taught them the history and the background of fitness and Gold's Gym and how to create value in fitness, because this is exactly what people are doing. You're selling fitness at this point. You're selling either a gym membership or personal training, and even working the front desk. You have to understand what fitness can do and what the value is behind it. So I trained the employees and was doing it up until decided to leave Gold and come to Beachbody exclusively. So what I did is I went back and looked at all my notes and all the stuff that I've done over the years and say, okay, some of this has got to be helpful. And when it comes to coaching, being a Beachbody coach, here's my caveat is I know about this much of what it means to be a Beachbody coach. When it comes to like all of your downlines and your legs and your success points and all that crap, I have no idea what that means. Like zero. And I love listening to all the accomplishments of people. They're like, this person is a 5-star diamond with this many Success Club points and blah, 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 blah. And I have no idea. Like my brain will explode because I won't know what it means, but I do know that it means that you guys are doing well, I guess. So there you go. Good for you. Congratulations. But regardless, you're still doing exactly what I know you have to do, which is really help people understand the value of what the Beachbody products are and the value that we say that we feel is in health and fitness, right? And I can see all your heads because this is a video chat, so you can nod your head. This is interactive. So you can nod your head if you want. Okay, there we go. Cool. Just making sure. Or you can also type in the chat box nod. Thank you, Ashley. I like that. I have the chat box below. So now, and so what I did is I went back and decided, okay, I'm going to make this as simple, as physically and mentally easy as possible. So if you're taking notes, you're more than welcome to write this down, or if you want to visualize it, you can do it. I decided to call this the fitness funnel. Oops. Because we all know, can you still hear me? Okay. We all know that what a funnel's useful for, right? You put everything at the funnel, you put it at the very top, it's a whole bunch of stuff, and then it comes out at the bottom, and it's going to be nice and put together. So that's why I decided to call it the fitness funnel. So this is exactly how I think, and hopefully, like I said, you get a nugget out of this, is how I think that you can create value in what you're doing and all the things that you're talking about on a daily basis. And if there's ever any questions, you can always stop me because I got nothing but time. So, all right. So the first thing at the top of the funnel, the very first thing you start with is information. So information is key to anything, right? We have to give information out to people. We have to constantly give information to them. But the thing to remember is no matter how much information that you give out, that you send out, that you talk about, you can never, ever expect reciprocation back from that person. It's basically saying, I'm going to do something nice for you, but you have to do something nice for me. If you don't do something nice for me, then I'm not going to be upset. I'm not going to be very happy about it. So, and I use this example for Gold's because this is exactly what we did at Gold's in terms of marketing and everything like that. Gold's Gym started in 1965, and now in 2016, it's the most recognized fitness brand in the entire world. And it's not the biggest gym. It doesn't have the most gyms. It doesn't have the most members, but it's known to be the authority on health and fitness. And the reason for that is because over the years, they have made themselves available by giving out so much information to the general population that you don't even have to be a member. You can log on to their website right now, and if you go through their websites, you can get free meal plans, you can get free workouts, you can get everything that you need to accomplish your health and fitness goals without even being a member. So that type of information they're offering for free because they know eventually that whenever somebody finally decides that they're ready to take the next step, which may be join the gym or they need a little bit more guidance, the first thing that's going to pop into their head is all the times they've seen the Gold's Gym logo and they've seen Gold's Gym out there. So then they say, oh, okay, Gold's, they've been giving me a bunch of stuff already. Maybe they're the people I should talk to. And that's exactly what you want to do. Is if you think of your head as a Gold's Gym logo, that's what you want to pop into people's head when they finally get ready to take the next step, which is going to be finally contacting you. So the information aspect of it is hammering out information. So much of it is just constantly bombarding everybody that you're trying to talk to. So like maybe say, for instance, all the, the people that are potential coaches, those are the people that you want to just, hey, here you go. Here's free stuff. Here's a blog article. Here's how you can adjust your nutrition. Here's a free workout guide. You know what? Here you go. I tell you what, I'm not using this program anymore. Why don't you try it? There's just so much stuff you can throw out there. And the thing to remember is it can take time. It can be 6 months. It could be a year. It could be years before somebody is finally ready to make the next step. Does that make sense to everybody? Nod your heads. Type nod, whatever you want to do. Okay, cool. Let everybody like, Okay. So once you give out the information and they finally are ready to take the next step is they're going to call you, and the next thing in the funnel is going to be their experience with you. So the E word, experience. Experience goes one of two ways. It's really simple. It's either really, really good or it's really, really not. It's pretty straightforward. We all know what happens when somebody has a bad experience. They tell everybody they know and they go put it on Yelp. It's pretty much what happens now. And I don't think there's a Yelp for people yet. I'm pretty sure there'll be one soon. If there isn't already, like a Beachbody coach Yelp. There you go. There's your $1 million idea. If someone comes up with it, I want residuals or a really nice bottle of scotch. There you go. Okay. So look, there's no hiding from bad experiences anymore like there used to be. Yes, Trenton, it is called the internet as well. So now let's say the experience is good. And how do you get a good experience? You get a great experience from someone the first time you talk to them, the first couple of times you talk to them. And sorry, kids, if you're online, shut the hell up. Is when you talk to somebody, listen to them. Talking to them, not telling them all the things that you offer and all the products and everything that you can do for them, but it's actually shutting up and listening to what they say and listen to their story. You can use the conversation. You can adjust the conversation how you need to with questions to guide them to get the answers that you want in terms of particular information. But man, the first time you talk to somebody, the first couple times you talk to somebody, you shouldn't be doing a whole lot of talking at all. You should be listening to these people and listening to what they have to say. And I guarantee you that if you listen enough, you will find the triggers. You will find what they need without even asking them if you just get the story from them. Make sense? Cool. Moving on. Let's say you did that, and I know I'm going quick, so we can always answer questions at the end. So say you did that, and this person, you know what? I listened to Jason, and she gets me. She understands me. I feel that I can really benefit from her help. I really feel a connection with her. So that's the next thing is connection. You have to have some sort of connection with these people that you're working with. If there's no connection, then what's the point? There's absolutely no one's going to want to confide in you. They're not going to want to trust money to you or trust your financial advice or any advice really if they don't feel some sort of connection with them and with you. And there's a lot of ways besides just listening to establish a connection. And I'm also talking recurring connection. I call it touch points. The touch points are very, very easy to do. We did this in the fitness world all the time. And unfortunately, as we see the digital age, we've lost a lot of touch points where now people just get a text or they get like my favorite is the Facebook happy birthday thing. I'm sorry. And I'm not trying to tell anybody not to do it, but the happy birthday on your Facebook wall is friggin' useless because you get a birthday thing and then all of a sudden you have 800 birthday messages on your wall. You're not even going to see them all. And it's the lazy man way of saying happy birthday. That's what I call it. So the digital world has made these touch points non-connected and there's zero thought put into them now. So I've seen some coaches do some amazing things when it comes to touch points where they do handwritten cards. And I'm not saying you got to go all out. It's not hard to do. But a freaking postcard only costs, a stamp. It's very, very simple to do with the touch points where you talk about specific things that they would not even think about. So I'm not talking about a birthday message or birthday card, but we would do things like they would get an anniversary card, the anniversary of their membership. They got a card every single year. We would send things to them if they accomplished a goal. So if they said they were going to lose 30 pounds, then we tracked that. And they got something from us when they accomplished their goal. So, figure out what works for you and what works for your team and the people that you're working with. What are those touch points? How do you create a lasting connection with everybody you have? I know that can get to be a lot of people, but databases abound out there. Excel is a very, very simple database to use. And, pivot tables are my friends. I love pivot tables on Excel. For all my Excel junkies out there, they're great. They're so easy to use and you can easily get all the information you need out of Excel. So find what works for you and use that to keep your connection. So once you do that, you've got, you have a connection with somebody. Now it's actually time to start working on their programming. That's the next step in the funnel as you're moving down, programming. And I don't mean programming as in what Beachbody workout are they going to do? Maybe Joel's Beachbody On Demand workouts, but we're talking programming of their life. We're talking the aspects. What is it in their life? Why are they here? What is it that has not worked that has gotten them to this point now? something didn't work. Something went wrong. Something they went down whatever path they were on, whatever the road they were on, it didn't work. So that's why they're sitting there talking to you. So part of the listening to them is figuring out exactly what those things are, and that's the programming. You're going to help them reprogram whatever parts of their life that they need to do. So if it could be nutrition, it could be whatever it is. So, and we could go down that road forever and talking about programming, but you really want to make sure that the program is going to be very unique to that person, where they feel that they're not getting a canned plan. So I guarantee, and this has happened all the time at the gyms, where we would say, okay, well, hey, here you go, here's your membership, and then, okay, go try some classes and go do this and go do that. Good luck. And anytime one of the fitness consultants did that, I guarantee you those are the people that quit the gym within 30 to 90 days because they didn't have a program. They didn't have a plan. Without a plan, it's really hard to succeed in fitness and health and fitness. And you guys probably all know that by now. As you guys said, short-term goals, short-term plans. And when we're talking about this programming aspect of it, think of it in terms of what are these people's goals? What do they want to get out of this from you? If they say 30 pounds in a month, is that an attainable goal? Probably not. So we want to make sure that the goals are attainable in the programming. You want to make sure, and then make it to where it's easily attainable to start. So then that way, if we say, okay, cool, I tell you what, you want to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. All right, that's not, let's try something else. Let's say I want you to lose 5 pounds in the next 2 weeks, just to start. Because they're going to shock their body, and they're probably going to lose more than 5 pounds in 2 weeks. And then you make a big freaking deal out of it because they had such great success that now people are getting excited because now they're starting to see the results, right? And that's exactly what the next step in the funnel is results. How's that for transition? So as you go through the results, now all of a sudden people are seeing results, and now they're connected with you in a way that they'll never leave your side because they see that you're actually helping them. So out the bottom comes value. Basically what you just did is you put everything at the top, from information down to experience, connection, programming. They saw the results. And then at the very end of it, with the results they achieved and everything else that comes with it, there is so much value that now they don't want to leave your side because there's implicit trust. Money is not an option anymore. And we talk about value, you guys, everybody here on this call knows that if something is very valuable to you, or you see the value in it, it really doesn't matter how much it costs, because you're going to find a way to do it, right? You're going to find a way to get it, whatever you want. If you really, really want that car, you're going to find a way to get it, whatever the thing is. So I just say that because I got suckered in this last weekend. We went in. Short story, squirrel moment. Sorry. So Saturday night, Brianna and I, we have 2 great cars. We love our cars. Mine's like 1.5 years old. We lease our cars. And we're like, hey, we should go in Saturday night just to see what they have. And Saturday night, like midnight, we come home with 2 new cars. And we're like, what the hell just happened? But the value's there. And, I don't want to talk about that monthly statement, but but we love our cars, and the value was there. And so there wasn't a question, but you find ways. If you really see the value in it, then you're going to go, you're going to see it. And so all of a sudden you're going to stop hearing Shakeology is too expensive. Well, why can't I just go buy a protein bag powder, or protein bag, a powder from Costco or something like that? Well, we know why, but those are the things that you are going to help people understand is the true value in it, and how not only what you say it can do, but how it can truly benefit them. And we as human beings are naturally selfish. We want to know what's in it for us. That is the marketing 101 of, and if this helps you too, I'll give you a quick little marketing 101 tip, where there's 3 things that always comes to people's mind when it comes to the world of sales. They say, why should I act now? Why should I do it right now? Take away the fear, as in if it's, what's going to happen if I don't do it? And then what's in it for me? We call it WIFM. What's in it for me? So take away the fear. Why act now? What's in it for me? Those are 3 things. That's the marketing world. That is marketing 101 that everyone always looks at. So once someone really sees that they should do it right now, they're not scared, and they see the benefit of it, they'll come right after you every single time. So that is a very quick, fast explanation of my fitness funnel. I hope that it makes sense. And I would love questions. I like questions. Questions are fun.
Okay, awesome. I love that. I love this funnel. The fitness funnel.
Well done, Joel.
Well done, Joel.
Real quick, and just so you know, just because the last call, like I said, last call, someone asked me if this is a beer. This is coconut flavored seltzer water, guys. You know, like someone actually.
Miller Lite.
We know that's just a wrap around the can. Real quick, Joel, in case there's a couple nerds out there who forgot to pick up a pen during this session,
yeah,
would you mind just real quickly naming off the sales funnel one at a time so someone could write that down straight down the line?
Yes, sir. So we got the fitness funnel, consists at the top of information, experience, comes after information, connection, programming, leads to results, and then you got your value.
Thank you.
No problem.
I love it. I was going to try and relate some of that stuff to what you guys are directly doing already, just because I think a lot of the times, like, you guys are doing stuff and you're not really connecting it to everything else. So I may post something about that in the team page, but I did have a couple questions for Joel, which I think is interesting because he doesn't know a lot about the coaching structure or any of that stuff, which I love because I like it when people have a different, broader perspective because they can give us new information that's fresh. There's a lot of coaches who fear not being a fitness professional and still helping people get in shape. So like they're not trainers, they're not dietitians, they're not nutritionists. So my question for you is, and this might be a little convoluted, but what do you see the purpose of a coach being?
I see the purpose of a coach of being exactly like a funnel. That has really been how I've seen myself as I use the term loosely, fitness professional. I use the term professional very loosely when it comes to describing myself. But when it comes to, because I've never said I'm a nutritionist, and because I'm not, and I've never, aside from having a certification, a personal training certification, I am not the smartest guy when it comes to body mechanics and all this stuff. But what I do know is how to help people get to where they need to be. And that's really what a funnel does, right? So, there's so much information at the top level. When we think about all the fitness information that's out there now, which is just so crazy, is to help people figure out what works for them. And that's really where I see you guys as coaches. And that's exactly what a coach is. What they do is they help people figure out what's best for them, what works for them, because they may not know what it is. So you don't have to be a nutritionist and you don't have to be an exercise professional by any means. But if you still educate yourself enough to know all the things that are out there and how it can benefit people, then you can easily go and talk to people and figure out how to help them get on a plan. And it will be a learning experience. I mean, I'm still learning every single day that I talk to people, and doing these calls, I'm still learning every single day as I talk to people about this stuff. Because everybody's different. Everybody has their own thing, their own world, their own roads that they travel, and what works for me ain't gonna work for everybody else. So I definitely see you guys as helping people figure out, not telling them what they need, but helping them figure out what works for them. Because that's gonna make them want to stick around, as opposed to saying, you have to do this. Like, whoever has kids knows when you say you have to do this, the kid says no. So, and adults do the exact same thing. I'm 33 years old. You tell me I have to do something, I'm gonna be like, I don't want to know. It's the reality of it.
I love that. I think that's something I try and reiterate, at least with my team a lot, just that, we have our plans and our diet stuff done for us. Like, we don't need to be that person in people's lives. What we're here for, again, like Joel said, is to provide value. And I think that is definitely the essence of what we do. I think information, this may be something that a lot of coaches struggle with because they come into this just knowing their own experience and their own transformation. And I think it's hard for them to be like, what information do I have that's valuable for other people? And so I just wanted to touch on that really quick, which, number one, I believe that any person can become informed. Anyone can.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So you guys all have the ability to research. You all have the ability to learn. You all have the ability to GTS, right? Which if you guys don't know what that means, it means Google that stuff, right? You guys have that stuff. And the most important thing, and one of the easiest ways to really nail this information down is, number one, you guys are doing it a lot by being a product of the product, right? Sharing the things that you know, first and foremost. Second, by sharing the value of different philosophies or ideas or articles that you read that have helped you in your own journey change your life. Because if you learn something that helped you change, it'll probably help somebody else change. So sharing that stuff. But taking it a step further and really showing people that you're researching your craft, I think that alone is super valuable. So even if like the article you post or the blog you post or whatever you post doesn't have that impact every single time you post it, they see you researching. They see you taking your job seriously. They see you trying to add value, right? And give that information freely, which I think a lot of new coaches want to give for free because they just want to help people. So that's one way that you guys can do that. I love that that's number one. Mike has something to say.
Well, actually, I was nearly the same thought on that. So, Joel, I'm going to try and form a question out of this statement. Okay. Not that way. Maybe you can just comment on it directly. But what I would say that we see a lot is, because everybody does social media is the bulk of this business. And really a lot of what it is motivational marketing. When you look at most people's posts, whether it be on Instagram or Facebook, everybody posts their workout, they post their Shakeology, they post, get up, get going, get yours, kind of stuff. And
hey, that's what I say.
Well, it's apt, and I think it has a lot.
Well, it's just because Jace always beats me to the very motivational selfie shots, so I'm slightly bitter about that at this point.
She beats everyone. Still busy in the bathroom trying to get the right lighting, and hers.
I love it.
So motivational marketing, though, is what we see a lot of. So what I wanted to focus on is this very first part of what he's talking about with the funnel, this information, which is what Jace was just saying. That is the real value proposition initially that will have someone be interested in following you and seeing what you have to say, not just today, but tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that informational part is key to transitioning from just your motivational marketing to informational marketing. That information is what the value is. So rather than just saying, just got my workout done, 21-day fix, or rather 8x8 with Joel Freeman, maybe what you put in there is, here's a clip of that program. So here's me doing 8 sets of 8 on this and 8 sets of 8 on that. You really ought to give this a shot. Somebody give me a buzz, right? That's your call to action. That's more of your informational marketing rather than just a motivational marketing piece. So Joel, what do you think someone can do to transition between a motivational marketing piece into an informational marketing?
Hey, look, you even got a question out of it. I'm proud of you, Mike. So, hey, look, this is the challenge of marketing, period. And this is what I dealt with at Gold's Gym. And we're talking millions of dollars that I had to play with in my budget, where they were still, like, some of their marketing they were still doing was the door hangers on your door, where there was a company that literally still does door hangers, and there's a company that still does the dry cleaning tags. I mean, we're talking some old school tactics. And so we were really trying to look and see how do we shift it into the digital world. And so we shifted millions of dollars into it. And you're right, when it comes to information, the first step is you got to figure out who your target audience is. That is the number one thing. And I've myself personally have been dealing with this pretty much this past year, and this has been a challenge of what are we trying to say, what are we trying to do with my social media, and changing this around. And because there's plenty of people, plenty of posts out there right now that have all the same stuff, like I just finished my workout, and we're not saying that's bad, but if I'm trying to say something different, then I have to say it different. I have to think about who am I talking to. So what I've done is in the past probably about 3 months have really, and this was kind of like an aha moment for me. I'm like, wait a minute, I've got 500,000 coaches. That's my audience right now. I'm not going after anybody else but Beachbody coaches, because those are the ones that right now already see the value in everything that I do. So I'm going to work with them. I'm going to work. That's why I'm doing this right now, is I'm working because this is fun. And I want to work with the coaches and figure out all the different ways to get the stuff out there. And then the next step, obviously, as we get more out into the world, and I say world with, Beachbody on Demand now going out throughout the world, is figuring out, based on your target audience, what do they want to see? What do they respond most to? So if you're using the if you're using the workout, for instance, you just, hey, I just posted a picture of me working out. You'll get some likes out of it, but, is there any call to action? Not necessarily. It's kind of hard to see. Instagram kind of makes call to actions a little hard. They're slowly changing it and updating that. Facebook, they're changing our algorithms every single freaking day, it feels like. So call to actions are a little challenging at that point. But if you figure out, so I guess the long answer to your question is really thinking about who are you targeting. If you're targeting via digitally through Facebook ads and things like that, you can dial it down so minutely now in targeting that you can go after keywords of people, and it's pretty intense. So if you guys haven't looked at that, look at your ad manager in Facebook, because you can do some really cool stuff with that. So I say figure out your target, and then once you figure out your target, then start hammering them with the information that that they'll like and they'll respond to.
Excellent. That's actually very good. Thank you. And for anyone out there, a good example of that, if you wanted to look at somebody who does a pretty good job of informational marketing, is Ashley Dennis. Her page usually has many good items about what she's doing specifically and some of those calls to action. And it brought up actually another question that I had. Maybe you got some good story examples from when you were in the gym. As we come through the funnel, we get to a point where you develop a relationship with somebody. Maybe they haven't bought anything. Maybe they haven't signed up yet. And you're on that value piece right at the end, ready to, I was going to say this in a horrible way.
Close them. You're going to close them.
You're gonna crap out a coach at the bottom of the funnel. What is it that I want to use here? That's not it.
Yeah, I think it's a technical term.
Not the right term.
That's not the right term. But the value, from the value to the coach sign up in our world, is going to be from that transitioning from value to invitation. And how do we get there? Do you have any advice for someone maybe, or maybe some examples when you're at the gym where you had somebody who was wanted to sign up for personal training, or maybe wanted those goals, you developed this relationship and you needed to switch to this, all right, buddy, let's get going. How did that transition work for you in the gym world? Maybe we can apply that to some people.
Yeah, look, I tell you what, the perfect example for that actually wasn't personal training. It was actually group exercise, where the transition I always saw from people were the ones that came in and sometimes it would take convincing to get them into the group exercise room and actually try a class. And then it'd always be in the very back corner hiding. And then but then at some point I would get a connection with them. I connected with them somehow via, with visual or using their name. And so if I got a connection with them and they kept coming back, then I would slowly watch them move their way forward in the room to where eventually they were in the front. And then you started seeing all these people being in the front and losing weight. And then what would happen is, I always called it from the back of the room to the front of the class, where they would go from the back of the room, literally taking their first class, to then coming up and saying, hey, how can I become an instructor? I want to do this now. I've seen so much results. I want to be able to do this. Or some people, they would say, look, I don't think I could actually ever teach, but I would love to go through the training, because this has really changed my life. So you don't always know how it's going to work. You don't always know what that connection will be. But I promise you that especially as you're going through the Beachbody coaching world, because they will eventually see, especially if they stick with you for a long enough time, they will start to see, because then they'll see what you're posting on Facebook, and they'll see what all your other coach friends are posting on Facebook, and like all about the success and the perks, and those little things are going to start to raise the pop up blips on their radar. And then when they see the results, and if they ever ask you about it, then that's then that's your in. It's really, I can only imagine how challenging it is to make sure you go. You go after someone and say, hey, you want to be a coach? No, that's, because if they don't really understand it and they don't understand the value of it, they're going to say, no, it's just a pyramid Ponzi scheme that I don't want to be a part of. We all know it's not, but that if they don't have the value in mind, that they're not going to do it. So I would definitely say that it's a matter of opportunity, really making sure that people understand first, before you start talking about coaching, is they really, really understand, they understand everything that it entails before you ask them if they want to do it. Because then otherwise, if you do it the flip side, you're just trying to convince them that it's a good idea.
Right. I think I love that, actually. I think a lot of people try and invite before the connection is made. And that is the wrong way to do this. It will never work. Whether you're trying to get them into a program or your challenge group or to coach or even just to be like part of your circle and what you're about, if that connection isn't made, it just won't happen. And I did want to say, I loved that analogy that Joel just said, which he threw that nugget out, and I hope you all freaking wrote it down, which was, if you can learn how to create connections to get your people from the back of the room to the front of the class, right? Whether they're your customer or your coach, what's going to happen is they're going to retain. You're going to retain that person, right? You'll invite them to your life and they'll stay there forever. So even if they never become a coach, they may become a customer for you for life, and they'll just keep coming back and gaining value and adding to your life just like you're adding to theirs. You know, they'll show up for you and be the front of the class and cheer you on if you can build that connection. And I think a lot of what we try and do as coaches through recognition, through inviting, through our challenge groups, through a lot of this stuff is trying to create that connection, that opportunity for the connection so that we can invite them to things. I love that. That's awesome.
And at that point, you also want to think about you're replicating yourself.
Yes.
So that's how I always saw it. So when we were launching new programs all around LA, I started when we opened a Gold's Gym up in Santa Clarita. I was the very first body combat instructor in LA and was teaching all the combat classes there and was pulling people and eventually getting to the point I replicated myself. I didn't have to teach at that club anymore. I moved on to the next one. So you're replicating yourself at that point for sure. And you're making people, making copies of people that have all the same value in the company that you do.
That's awesome.
Okay, we've got an excellent question from Ashley. I'll ask on her behalf. Joel, I don't know if you can see the
Yeah, I got it pulled up here.
chat. So yeah, there's one from Ashley. For those who can't read, how would you suggest breaking the myth of that whole "I can't get a good workout from home" mentality that so many people have? As a former gym guy, how would you speak about the home workout value?
Look, I don't want to say former gym guy because I still go to the gym a couple times a week, but I go to different gyms. So I go through weird phases of working out, and this really comes down to the motivation factor, because I get the question a lot: how do I stay motivated working out? It's because I keep changing it up. I get bored with stuff, and when I finally got bored, and look, I didn't stop teaching Les Mills classes because I couldn't teach them anymore. I stopped teaching them because I was bored with them. I had taught them for 8 years. And I didn't have a passion for it anymore. So once I didn't have the passion for it, I wasn't going to do it. So I go through and find things that I have a passion for. That's why I'm back in the boxing world and back kickboxing again and getting the crap beat out of myself. Just not the face. I'm still not to get hit in the face, but everything. But I love it. I wake up and I'm excited to go to the boxing ring. I'm excited to go and hit the bag and do pads and all this stuff. And that's part. And when it comes to working out at home, it is a challenge, and it's actually a challenge for me. So it's a great question, because I'm the guy that I'd actually rather go somewhere and work out than do it at home. Now, I do work out at home occasionally. Right now, my life is more, I have to be over at Beachbody, and, obviously there's gyms there. So I'm working out at the Beachbody gym or something like that. For everybody else, or for people that are saying, I can't work out at home, they say I can't get a good workout at home. Well, one, all the workouts are great, and I would just bet them. I was like, oh yeah, I'll bet you. Nothing else. It really comes down to if call them out on their. I know someone said PG, but call them out on their bullshit, because at that point it is bullshit. And call them out on that and say, look, you know what? I dare you to do this for a week and see what happens. Any workout I've ever done at Beachbody workout at home has been a puddle of sweat on the floor. You challenge them. If they say they don't have room for it, that's BS again. Furniture moves. And that could be their warm up, is to move their furniture, and then they can do the workout. So, there's definitely value in it. And then if they say, my favorite one has always been, the people that they're like, well, I haven't been working out, but I can't work out at home. I'm a gym person. I'm like, oh, so you've been working out at the gym? They're like, no. I'm like, oh, how's that been working out for you?
Brilliant.
So, like when they say that I just can't work out at home, like, are you currently working out at all? No. okay, well, let's just like figure this out. So you don't want to call them stupid, but you're thinking it at that point. So, I think my number one thing I always tell people is I just like to challenge people. If they say they can't get a good workout at home, I'm going to throw a workout at them that that can kick their butt. So give them one that doesn't require equipment. Like Jericho's half and half harder is freaking ridiculously challenging. Give them a workout that will kick their butt, and then say, how'd that work out for you? No pun intended, work out for you.
That's a good segue, actually. And actually, I would say, just to comment on that, I would think most people that don't want to work out at home, or rather want to work out at home, you have that in you already. You either want to or you don't want to. I'm a guy also who doesn't like to work out at home. I like the separation of home and gym, so I go to a gym every day.
Yeah. Can
I do Beachbody workouts at a gym? Of course.
Thanks to Beachbody On Demand, streaming anytime, anywhere.
Boom. That's my whole point. So there's really an option here for anybody, whichever way they want to go. And that was my next question. I know there's another one in here, but I'm going to throw it out anyway. Yeah. How do you see the evolution of BOD occurring in the future, this route over DVDs? How do you see that? Is there some advantage you see in selling that sometimes over a DVD?
Yeah, I think, look, we're fitness. There's so many different fads in fitness, and there's been these fads over the years, and I've watched a lot of them come and go. But I use CrossFit as a great example. CrossFit's been a fad that died out a long time ago, and the only reason that it is what it is now is because Reebok, the company, bought them and rebranded them, and now you see what it is. But the CrossFit practice itself is doing great, but I've always told people, I guarantee you it's going to be a fad. And the reason I know it's a fad when it comes to the CrossFit boxes is because of the model, the way they set up the model. So it was, it's $3,000 to get certified and open up a CrossFit box and open up your own gym. And then people that have, 1 day experience start telling people to throw heavy weights over their head. So we do go through a lot of different fitness fads. Right now, and then with the world of social media, we're going through this horrible fitness fad of Kim Kardashian badunkadunks and models that are completely.
It's horrible. I agree. Just terrible stuff.
I only follow them for research purposes, but actually, I refuse to follow them.
Kim Kardashian's the only person he's following, just so you guys know.
Yeah, no, I refuse to follow any of them because I think they're completely useless to society. That's my personal opinion. Because what does that do? What is that really showing people? So I think as we go through these fads, there's going to be some staples that will stick. And, Gold's Gym is a staple that has stuck since 1965. And sometimes it takes a little bit of rebranding, and Gold's has gone through that the past decade of rebranding themselves. And I think, Beachbody On Demand is very, very new still. It's still technically beta. It hasn't even, the real thing hasn't even launched yet. So I think we're still going to see iterations of it, but that is, streaming workouts is definitely a huge deal. There's a challenge because you can go on to other websites that give you free streaming workouts, and there's apps that give, the Nike app, and I don't tell all the secrets, but there's a lot of, you just have to look. There's a lot of apps out there that give you a bunch of free stuff. I think we're still figuring out with Beachbody, and I think we're going in the right direction of figuring out how to put quality programming on there, and then also help people figure out what programming will work for them. I think that's kind of the next logical step in this scenario, is to help people almost like formulate their workout plan based on the library that's in the catalog. So I think we're going to see some more iterations over the next few years with that. Hope that answered that question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Somebody asked another question, right? Let's see.
Yeah, there's a couple in there.
Lithium.
I'm going to read it.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I'm not sure which. So you read it, and I'll just answer it.
All right, that sounds good. Okay, Trent saying, with the amount of stuff you have going on, Joel, as a professional, how do you find the time to fit everything you do into the day? Is it mostly planning it out?
No, I hate planning. I really do. What's that?
This is why we're friends. I hate planning too.
Yeah, no. I hate planning. I hate planning, but I love being organized. How's that for oxymoron? I don't like planning stuff in terms of all right, this is what we're going to do tomorrow. This is what we're going to do this. But I do love being organized. So if I know I have to do things, then I am a huge calendar junkie. So it has to be, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. So that's how I stay organized. But then when it comes to the rest of it, I'm really easy when it comes to changes. It's easy for me to do that. Like, I'm lucky in the fact that, my life is very, very simple. I have a fiance and a cat, and that's it. So, if something changes, I can be like, all right, hey babe, not going to do this, going to do this. And that's why she's my fiance, because she's like, okay. And it's great. So I roll really well with changes, luckily. Yeah.
So Jess said, Joel, you mentioned guiding convos with questions. Can you give some examples?
Yeah, that's a great question. So guiding it is in terms of, and when I say guiding it, it means that what you need to do before you actually have the conversation with somebody is you need to figure out what are the outcomes, or what is the end game that I hope to accomplish by talking to this person. So for instance, like when I wrote this little fitness funnel, when I put this all together, what was my outcome? Well, my outcome was I wanted to make sure that everybody understood how you can put all these things together and create value in fitness. So when before you talk to somebody, write it out and put these things in there and say, okay, the end game, start with your end game, which is I started with value, and then work backwards and say, okay, if my end game, for instance, is I want to know everything about this person, and I want triggers. Let's say triggers. I want to know what their triggers are. Excuse me. You're going to start working backwards, and some of those questions would be, okay, tell me what you do every day. Tell me your day-to-day, and like seriously go down to the minutia of what time do you wake up? What do you have for breakfast? What's the first thing that you do in the morning? I mean, like, go into the detail of it, because in the details, you're going to get your answers. So start in the morning, and look, these are things that are really important. What time somebody gets up? What's the first thing they do? Do they go grab a cup of coffee, or do they go to the refrigerator and eat something? Like, there's people that do that. So go into the minutia of it and really, really go down to those details, but really think about your end game. And that should help you guide the conversation to really get the answers that you're looking for.
I love that. It's like reverse engineering. And I think also too, like, as a coach, if you're constantly looking for areas of improvement, because sometimes you guys, like, that one person cutting out 2 cups of coffee a day can make a difference in their journey. Like, if you realize and didn't know before that person was having 4 cups of coffee a day and using coffee creamer, you can help them eliminate that one thing and they'll see a difference. So the more inquisitive you can be, and you guys have permission to be inquisitive because you're coaches, right? I think people are afraid to ask questions, especially personal questions, because they feel like there's some sort of, like, I don't know.
Right. As a doctor.
Like, it's not appropriate. Yeah, like a doctor.
Has a doctor ever asked you a question that made you uncomfortable?
You don't have to ask somebody, well, like, you don't have to ask them how many times they get laid a week. Like, those are questions that do not pertain to you being a coach. But you can absolutely ask all the questions that pertain to health and fitness. Right. And, well, I mean, that could be considered cardio. I don't know. But it's but you have to make sure that, if, like, and I'll use a better example, a safer example, is what we used to do. I heard personal trainers do this all the time at the gyms, and newer personal trainers, because they just basically read the book, took the certification, took the test. Hey, I'm a personal trainer. Zero practical knowledge. So I would listen to them, and they would say, okay, they would talk to their new client, and say, okay, I need you to go ahead and write down your food journal. I need you to document everything that you eat this week. And we hear that all the time as food journals. You guys, nobody puts, as Jay says, nobody puts how many cups of coffee they have with the creamer and the 2 sugars into a food journal, because it's not food. So those are those types of questions that you really ask. Hey, I drink a cup of coffee every single morning with 1 stevia, but I wouldn't put that in a food journal because it's not food. And nor would I put the bottle of wine that sometimes gets consumed at night, because that's not food. It's not consumed with my teeth. Right. It's like the bottle, once you open the bottle, if the bottle's open, then you don't want it to go bad, right? So might as well finish it. So those are the types of questions, and you are absolutely allowed to ask those questions. If you feel that you should ask permission, then at the very beginning of this, and don't, and remember, don't forget that you are talking to somebody who probably came to you finally at that point. So they're an open book at this point. They're wanting you to ask questions and wanting their help. So if that's the case, then just simply ask them, hey, look, do you mind if I ask you some questions? Some of them might be personal. Are you okay with that? And they'll say, yeah, sure. Like, no one's going to say no to that. So, and if you ask something that's way off the cuff and way too personal, they're going to say, I don't want to answer it. And then 2, you should email me what those questions are, because I would love to know.
What are you doing?
Like, damn.
I will say, you guys, that connection that you're trying to make is in those details. Like, if you're not willing to go that deep, then you're probably going to have a hard time making those connections. The way that I personally connect with my customers is I get that stuff out in the very first question that I ask, the very first conversation, and I say it very simply. You guys all know, hey, tell me your story, catch me up. That's all you got to say, and they'll freaking tell you everything about their life.
With your gym.
Right?
Yeah. And look, you guys are smart. You at some point you'll have heard enough stories to know that someone's leaving something out. So if they go, well, I eat pretty well and I exercise regularly, I just can't lose any weight. They left something out.
Right.
So that's what you're going to probably die. And they probably left out the bottle of wine.
And that's where most coaches stop. I would say a lot of coaches are not willing to push people that. But again, you guys are coaches. That's when you say, your effort that you're telling me is not matching up with your results. So there's a disconnect here. Let's try and figure that out. And that's when you reverse engineer, like Joel was saying, and say, walk me through your day. What do you do when you first wake up? That's when you really get into those nitty-gritty details and make those connections, right?
Yeah. And look, you guys aren't, and when it comes to the programming aspect of the funnel, remember that you don't, because a lot of people, this is where they could potentially clam up because they feel like they have to change everything that they do. And that's not true. What you want to do is make sure is affirm the fact to them that look, I'm not trying to change your life, but you're obviously on a path that is not working for you. So what we're going to do is we're just going to change your path a little bit. We're just going to tweak it a little bit. We're just going to put you down this different path. Doesn't mean you can't, you can't do the same, some of the same things. And I am the biggest proponent of eating a cheeseburger on the weekends than anybody. So, make it real, make it, as I say, my hashtag is fitness realism. That's what I use because that is my life. Is I ate pizza on Monday for 4th of July, and then I ate a bunch of veggies today. That's the reality of it. So that's fitness realism. And so those are the things that you want to do is not just find the issues, but also make these people comfortable with the fact of knowing that you're not trying to change everything about them. You're just saying, look, we're going to tweak it a little bit, make them feel good about their decisions, right? Make them feel confident and that it's the right thing for them to do, for sure.
One thing I say a lot is it's one bite, one rep at a time. If you can really narrow people's next step down to something easy and achievable, then they'll take that step forward, right? And then you can give them more. So I know that as coaches, we want people to be at their potential and be at that end result, right this second, because we know the value in that, but they don't yet. So if you can just take it one bite, one conversation, one question, one small detail at a time, and you can just work on them one at a time and then continue forward. That's another great way to connect with people, get them real results, and retain that relationship, which I think is key.
That's the attainable goals that you help them set. The couple pounds a week or something like that. And set it. Don't make them long term. 2 weeks is what I always say.
Short term.
2 weeks was the magic number that I did with all people at the gyms when I was training a long time ago. I did 2 week goals. So every 2 weeks they would accomplish something. That is I think that's a perfect amount of time to attain a goal when it comes to health and fitness, and enough time to do it and not forget about it at the same time. So that 2 weeks is my personal suggestion to start for sure.
We have 2 minutes, and then I'm going to let Joel go because he's giving us 60 minutes of his time. But we had one more question. which was about personal development, which I think is awesome. They said, what forms of personal development do you find the most beneficial? And do you have any book recommendations?
You know, what's funny is so every call so far, this question's come up, and I know that the coaching world is, you know, Carl and everybody is huge about personal development in the books. And I'm like the exact opposite for some reason. I'm not a huge book guy. I don't have, so the answer is I don't have any personal development books that I'm reading right now. My favorite speakers that I've heard over the past that I've gotten the biggest nuggets from, my two favorites were Simon Sinek. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Simon Sinek, and then also Gary Vaynerchuk. Those two guys are the ones I've really enjoyed, and Gary keeps it really cusses, so I like him.
He cusses a lot.
He cusses a lot. Yeah, he really does. Like, he drops the F-bombs on stage. I don't even do that. So that's pretty ballsy of him. But, you know, when it comes to my own personal development, so people then say, well, if you're not reading, you know, what are you doing to develop yourself personally? Is for me, and I made this decision a long time ago, just, you know, through stuff growing up and childhood and parents and blah, 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 divorce and whatever it was, it just really came to the point where I saw we all know what's right and what's not right in terms of how to treat people, and how it really came down to, for myself, and as I continue to grow with Beachbody and my presence grows and social media and all this stuff, is just really how do I want to be seen? And so everything that I do and everything that I say is always, I'm always making sure I'm on the plane of, is it me? Is it anybody else but me? And you know, like if you've seen, I have a tattoo. It says right here, it says ride the line. And for me, that's the line of that's the line of humility. And so I guess that's my personal development. I just got it inked on me. But it's, I just simply ask myself, you know, if I post something, if I do something, if I say something, am I proud of that? And that's why you guys will never see anything that I post or say or do that is not really me. You know, like I would never say, don't drink wine because it's bad for you, as I'm gulping it on the other side. So, you know, that's my personal development, is simply saying, am I the best person that I can be for myself? Am I happy with myself? And am I being the best person I can be for my future wife, and our cat? That's also important. Am I being the best person I can be for Chloe?
I love that. Just so you guys know, Simon Sinek was a keynote speaker at Summit, and he's freaking amazing.
Yeah,
like he's done TED Talks.
Amazing.
He's like the smartest man on the planet. Like legitimately, like super smart. But he wrote that book, Start With Why, which I know I've talked to you guys about, which is awesome. Gary Vee, he's going to be the keynote speaker this year at Summit.
Oh, there you go. See, I didn't even know that.
Amazing. You didn't know that? Yes. He's going to be.
I tell you what, our itineraries, we had our final itinerary meeting yesterday at Beachbody. And I tell you what, like we're lucky that we get to breathe the entire summit. So it's quite busy. So we won't be any of the sessions or any of that stuff. They've got us busy for sure. But that's awesome that Gary Vee will be there. So if you don't like curse words, then well,
I don't know how he's going to make it Beachbody kosher, because he's pretty.
Gary does what he does, man. He doesn't change it.
I'm sure Carl will say, don't drop any F-bombs and we'll be good, but we'll see. He kind of does his own thing, but that's what makes him him. And just like Joel said, you just got to do you, boo, and you'll be fine, you know? Like, that's just what it's about. So Gary does have a couple books. Mike and I have read and started reading. I've started reading Ask Gary Vee. It's hashtag Ask Gary Vee. And then he also wrote Crush It, which I know Dave and our team is reading right now. So those are a couple books if you want book suggestions. But I love that your personal development is humility. I think that's awesome. I was never like a huge, I was never like a great student. So book reading is always like wah, wah for me. So like audio, I get personal development from like people, like energy, different things that I see, like videos, like one-on-one connections, interactions. Like a lot of my personal development is through that kind of stuff. So just so you guys know, like if you're not super bookworms, that's okay. Like you can still get a lot of personal development and value from other things. It's just recognizing, like Joel said, what that is for you. So that's awesome. I love that.
And I look, Jason, I'm right there with you, and that's probably the best way to answer is, what's your personal development? I'd say it's people. I don't like reading, absolutely not. And like right now, I'm having to re-upping some stuff just to get just upping some knowledge with certifications and stuff. So I'm going through the NASA book again, and I want to shoot myself. It's horrible. Like it's just
this is why I'm a coach.
It's like I hate that part. Like I mean, it's like I pout when I'm sitting there reading, and there's nobody else around me. I'm just pouting to myself because I hate it. So it's so it's there's
Joel
no
is
reason.
apparently my spirit animal, and I just didn't. But we appreciate you so much. I know we took a lot of your time, but I got a lot of stuff out of this, so I know that our team did, and I appreciate it. I'm super excited for all his stuff in the works.
Anything you want to tell us, Joe? One last plug option for you.
What? You're breaking up. I can't hear you. Hey, look,
we're out of time. So
we're out of time.
I'm out of time. Time there in LA. Bedtime here in Florida. So
look, there's no secret that we've been working on stuff. It was a unique, weird scenario of us coming in, Jericho and I coming in and being announced as Beachbodies super trainers with no program, no home basically. But that's the way things work sometimes, and Beachbody is constantly changing. But I can tell you that we're working on things, and the things that we're working on are friggin' amazing. And I think if everyone just is patient for a little bit longer, it will pay off. I promise you that. And I promise you that it ain't anything like you've ever seen before. How's that?
Can't wait.
I'll give you that one. So, and then as always, my shameless plugs. I hope you guys, if you haven't already, do my I know there's only 2 of them, so you get bored and you can mute me and put your own music on. But 8x8 and Grab Bag Power, they're 2 great workouts. Those are actually modeled after my own personal workouts that I do. They're 2 of my favorites. And then at Joel Freeman Fitness on Instagram and Joel Freeman on Facebook. And get ready to see pictures of pizza and carrots. And a cat.
8x8 workout, you guys, by the way, is legit.
And only 20 minutes, right? Like, that's not too shabby.
It's good. So try and do it if you have on demand for sure.
All right. Silent round of applause for Joel, everybody.
All right. Love you guys.
Well, thank you, Jace. Thank you, Mike. And hopefully if you guys, I'll see you at Summit and at the workouts.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.